Here, something they don't tell you about the Imperial court. What you wore could get you killed. Walk into any museum today and you will see these robes behind the glass. They look stunning, almost peaceful. But the women and men who wore them, they knew the truth. 3 dynasties, 3 stories nobody talks about. Because behind all this beauty was a system designed to control every person who wore it. And we are going to see how all of it was used. The Tang Dynasty didn't really do subtle. Everything had to be bigger, brighter, taller. But here is the thing. When we look back at it now, we are judging by how it looks. Back then, they were judging by how much it weighed. Okay, so these giant hair towers, they're called Yezi, which literally means single leaf. They didn't just stay up by their own. There was an actual frame inside. It's called a muwan, and around it they'd wrap layer after layer of fake hair shipped in from down south. Expensive stuff. We are basically talking about architecture on a person's head. And to keep all of that locked in place, you needed this. Heavy gilded pins. A noble woman would push several of them straight through the whole structure. Altogether, we are talking about 3 kilos sitting on top of your head. Just standing still in that is hard enough. But the court didn't want you standing still. They wanted you dancing, fast, spinning. And that's where this stops being fashion and starts being a real physical problem. Think about it. 3 kilos, balanced on top of your neck. Now spin. Fast, really fast. About 2 full turns a second. At that speed, the crown stops being a crown. It becomes a wrecking ball. Every muscle in the neck is fighting to keep that weight from tearing the spine apart. One wrong step, one tiny miscalculation, and everything could fall apart in an instant. So when you watch one of these performances, you are not seeing just a simple grace. You are witnessing a dancer command an enormous weight with total control, turning a demanding routine into something that looks beautifully effortless. So why would anyone risk that? Why put your body through something like this just for a few minutes in front of the emperor? Because inside the harem, beauty wasn't about looking nice. It was the only thing that could move you up or get you erased. Now, in the West, you had corsets, bone frames, hardware. Tang fashion didn't use any of that. These layered silk gowns stayed up using one thing: friction. The silk sashes were yanked painfully tight, not to make the waist look smaller, but to lock that slippery gold-threaded fabric in place above the chest. That's where stakes climb sky high. Silk woven with golden threads is heavy. It's slippery, and here is the part the most people don't know. If your gown shifted, that was treated as a direct insult to the throne. And the ruling was final. Exile for life. Banished to the remote southern frontier. A distant land you would never leave again. So yeah, those clothes weren't just clothes. They were holding her entire future in place. Now here is the real problem during the dance. It's not the speed, it is the momentum. That heavy silk skirt, it spins with her like a flywheel. So if she stops too quickly, the fabric keeps going. It pulls her down. Which brings us to these shoes. The ones with the weird curled up toes. They are not just for looks. They are solving a very specific problem. Look closely at this. That curled tip, think of it as a hook. With every step she takes, it grabs the bottom edge of the skirt and flicks it forward, clear of her feet. Without it, she'd be stepping on her own hem in no time. Trip, stumble, and don't forget, the entire gown stays in place through friction alone. One stumble, and the whole masterpiece simply comes undone, right there, in front of the court. Then comes the face. And the face had to be a blank canvas. To get that look, that perfect porcelain finish everyone wanted, they used a white powder made from lead. Here is the irony. Lead face powder was a luxury only the rich could buy. They paid for status, not knowing that the powder was slowly ruining their health. Here is what actually going on. The lead wasn't just sitting on the surface of their skin. It was soaking in, day after day, literally become a part of them. And sure, it gave them that signature ethereal moonlit glow, a look nobody else could pull off. But the price they paid? Absolutely brutal. It was the slow, silent breakdown happening from the inside, quietly stealing their minds and destroying the very beauty they sacrificed everything to preserve. Consider the bargain they were striking. Just to keep their place in the court, they were paying a steep price, bit by bit. And the moment the harm began to surface on their skin, there was no turning back. Your only option was to reach for more powder, mask it, hide it away. And that meant even more poison. So this substance, it was never truly makeup. It was a gorgeous, silent snare. And in a place like a Tang court, your rivals weren't just going to sit back and wait for you to mess up. They'd make it happen. One clean cut, the right ribbon, all taken care of in the dressing room before you ever set foot on that floor. And the second that dance hit full speed, physics did the rest. This wasn't make-believe. It was the Hu Xuan Wu, the famous Sogdian Whirl that became a hit at the Tang court. Old records say that the dancers spun so fast that their gowns looked like one big cloud. Now imagine doing this with 3 kilos of metal and jade on your head. Think about the physics. 2 spins a second. At that speed, the neck takes a lot of strain. One slip and you fall. This took more than grace. It took real strength. The math here is brutal. If that ribbon snapped mid-spin, 3 kilos of bamboo and gold would rip the hair straight off her scalp. The fall alone could end everything, in front of everyone. And after that, exile. She had maybe a second, maybe less. She needed something, anything, to stop it. So she reaches for the pin, but this is no decorative touch. She pushes it through, sideways, right into the framework, like a latch, locking the whole thing down. The sheer tension on her must have been brutal. Every strand pulled taut at the roots, but it did the job. The tower stand up. She made it through the dance. She got through that night. But the struggle to keep going, that was only the start. We often see the Victorian corsets as a top example of changing the body for beauty. But 1,000 years earlier, beauty in the Chinese court asked for training as a pro athletes today. One extra inch of silk and your entire family ceases to exist. The Imperial tailor wasn't cutting fabric, he was cutting death sentences. Hear that rhythm? That's the heartbeat of the Ming Empire. Too much silk on your collar? Bad news. Your whole family gets erased. Then it's iron collars and a long walk to the frozen border. Night here isn't for sleeping. Night is for roll call. The Ming Dynasty. Here your clothes aren't about style or taste. They are your criminal record. The width of your sleeve, the length of your hem, the number of knots on your buttons. All of it is written into the law. A tailor's mistake doesn't get a bad review online. It gets hard labor for the whole family. The empire shut itself off from the world. After a century of Mongol chaos, the Chinese took power back. But the price was paranoia. Total paranoia. Every neighbor could be an informant. Every extra thread of silk on your sleeve is evidence. Remember that. Every single thread is evidence. Welcome to a world where a needle is deadlier than a sword. Ming dress laws split society harder than any wall ever could. Peasants got no colors at all. No bright silk. only grey cloth and dark blue. The empire literally drove your social class under your skin through rough, scratchy hemp. Wore green, you are a farmer getting beaten with bamboo rods in the middle of the market, in front of the witnesses, so everyone else remembers. And here is the middle class. Merchants. People with money, but no right to show it. The law says cotton. But behind closed doors, they wore their wealth inside out. The finest silk was hidden as lining, closer to the skin, far from prying eyes. A quiet little rebellion nobody sees, except you. And only one day in your entire life did the system make an exception. Your wedding. The empire never gives gifts. If they let you wear the crown, they've already got the robe ready. For that one day, a commoner's daughter could wear the phoenix crown, the groom an official's robe. Sounds generous, right? They let you taste power, so the next morning they could button you back into grey cotton, so you'd know exactly what you'd been denied. Remember the Tang? There was freedom, open necklines, room to breathe. Under the Ming, a woman's body simply disappeared. They walled it up in fabric. Look at this collar. It stands so high it forces you chin up. You physically can't glance to the side or lower your eyes, not unless you bow with your whole body. The clothing literally controls where you look. Lan is dressed. Lan is ready. But her father is falling apart. This square on your chest, it is not a symbol of rank. It's a target for the executioner. The white crane. First rank in the civil hierarchy. The highest bird of all. But in the Ming Empire, a high rank doesn't protect you. It makes you the ultimate prey. Every thread on this square is a thread of a spider's web, and the Emperor's hunters are already feeling the vibrations. One wrong stitch, and the hunt is over. One small mistake, and the sentence is death. The badge matters more than the person wearing it. Lan's father stands there with the crane on his chest, and his hands are shaking. He knows the real shadow has already crossed the threshold. The Emperor's clothes are here. Somewhere in this house, right now, there is something far worse than a dress code violation. The Jinyiwei, the Emperor's personal guard, his secret police. This man isn't here by accident. He came on a tip, and he knows exactly what he is looking for. His eyes are searching for one thing. Look closer. 5 claws. Such a tiny detail, yet so deadly. 5 claws means the long, the Imperial dragon, a symbol reserved for the Son of Heaven alone. They're searching for it, the 5th claw. This isn't a seamstress's slip. This is a treason, stitched in gold thread. Someone bribed the tailors. For anyone else, it's a death warrant, stitched in gold. Lan didn't put on a dress. She put on a death sentence. Someone set this family up. She doesn't fight back. She doesn't argue. She destroys the evidence with her own blood. Remember his role. He is just a bureaucrat. And this is where the system turns on itself. No physical evidence, no case. Blood on a wedding dress, a bad omen, sure, but not a line in the legal code. He is a bureaucrat, not an executioner. He needs the letter of the law. And the letter is smeared. Literally. Lan won. For now, she won. But the Ming era is ending. Next comes the Qing. With the Qing, the law stopped filing paperwork. It started taking heads. Under the Qing, there is no trial, no chance. Here, the rule of the blade is absolute. Keep your hair and lose your head, or shave your forehead and keep your life. (1644) The Manchus seize Beijing. And the first thing they change isn't the laws, it's clothes. Your hairstyle is now a sign of submission. The color of your robe is a matter of life and death. This is no longer fashion, this is a uniform. And the Forbidden City becomes the cage full of tigers, where it's not the strongest who survive, but the most watchful. Look at her hands. Gold sheaths, each one the length of a palm. And this isn't jewelry. It's a loud declaration. I'm so wealthy, I never have to lift a finger. These clothes turn living hands into beautiful, useless objects. She can't dress herself. She can't feed herself. She depends entirely on her servants. Manchu women are forbidden from binding their feet, but the palace merely replaced physical chains with golden platform shoes. A platform in the middle of the soul turns every step into a balancing act. The spine pulled tight like a string. The steps tiny. Running impossible. True control doesn't require iron bars. It simply requires a standard of beauty that makes independence physically impossible.
A gift from the Son of Heaven for the future Imperial noble consort.
My lady, the color of the lining, these pearls, this is the mark of the Empress. This is dangerous.
Today, Wei is about to receive a title equal to Vice Empress. See this yellow silk? Only the Empress herself is allowed to wear this color. For a concubine to accept it, is not an honor. That's a death wish. In the Qing Dynasty, the exact shade of your clothing is a matter of life and death. Yellow was reserved exclusively for the empress and emperor. To wear it as a consort wasn't a fashion statement. It was high treason. The emperor is blinded by love, but he has just broken the most sacred law of the palace. The Eastern pearls are a sacred symbol. Only 3 people in the entire empire are permitted to wear them. To take them is to stake a claim to the throne. Wei is no fool. She is a gambler who just went all in. She believes the rules were written for other people, but inside these rules, believing you are the exception, that's the shortest path to ruin. Ambition has a precise architecture. Step onto the wrong level, and the entire structure collapses on you.
Wei has accepted the gift. She will wear the Eastern pearls to the ceremony.
The Eastern pearls, they carry the weight of our ancestors. Far too heavy for the fragile neck of an upstart.
The empress had endured far too much for anyone to underestimate her. It wasn't luck who placed her on the throne, but the sharp calculation of the empire's finest strategist.
It would be such a shame if the string couldn't hold during the ceremony, if the pearls were to scatter. After all, that would mean only one thing.
If the string of 108 pearls ever broke mid-ceremony, the court didn't blame the seamstress. They recorded it as the Manchu ancestors is personally rejecting the claimant to the throne.
The ancestors have rejected her. That would be an omen, wouldn't it?
Without question, Your Majesty. The will of heaven is sacred.
Let old Jing help heaven make its will known.
Just helping heaven reveal its will. Elegant, flawless, and absolutely deadly. Raw silk is stronger than steel under tension. You can't tear it with your bare hands. But silk has one weakness: friction. Patience is the ultimate weapon. You don't need to destroy the whole system, just the weakest link holding it together. Physics and palace traditions are about to collide. Let's break down exactly how a heavy Manchu platform shoe and a mandatory kowtow turned a slightly cut silk thread into a death sentence. Imperial pearls are heavy. Those clunky platform shoes create vibration that travels straight up the spine. Physics doesn't care about status. Every single step loosens the fibers She is already cut. For a superstitious cult, this is no accident. This is a verdict. Spirits of the ancestors have struck the sacred gifts from her hands. If the emperor defends her now, he goes against the will of heaven, and there, not even Son of Heaven can afford that. They won't punish her for being clumsy. They'll punish her because heaven rejected her. The laws of physics merely executed a sentence already written by the court's jealousy. Wei's ambition was her undoing, but her story serves as a chilling reminder. In the Forbidden City, the sharpest blades were always disguised as jewelry. They say Wei's story became a lesson for everyone who came after. Fashion is beautiful, but inside the palace, beauty is punishable. Wei died forgotten. Jing lived out her days in honor, keeping her mistress's secrets to the grave. This hairpin was an anchor in the Tang Dynasty. The needle in the Ming, and an executioner's blade in the Qing. People betray, empires crumble, but gold remembers everything. Right now, China is falling in love with an empire that vanished 1,000 years ago. Flowers in the hair, gold that trembles when you walk. A golden age reborn in 4K. But how much of it is real history and how much is a beautiful lie?